Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about a 7-year-old little girl who was killed after one of the most brutal assaults I've ever heard about. And wait until you hear how her attacker was punished. This is the story of Heaven Awot. Heaven Awot was born in Ethiopia to her mother, a backlash Adiba. The mother said that Heaven was 7 years and 7 months old at the time of her death, making her birthday somewhere around January of 2016. Heaven was said to be a sweet, happy, and smart girl, and she also had a sister who was about 3 years younger than her. The girl's mother worked as a nurse, and when she went into her job, she would often leave Heaven and her sister in the care of relatives who lived just next door. Heaven and her family resided in Bahir Dar, in the Amhara region of Ethiopia, and the little girl had grown up in the middle of a civil war. From 2020 to 2022, the Tigray region of Ethiopia was the center of conflict between the federal government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which has been described as an ethnic national paramilitary group, and up until 2023 was classified as a terrorist organization by many countries. The war led to widespread suffering and displacement. During this time, Heaven's father, who was of Tigray ethnicity, was imprisoned by the federal government, though it's not known exactly why. After his release several months later, he feared for his safety, and so he fled, leaving his family behind. So Heaven's mother, Abekelesh, was left to care for her 2 daughters all on her own. The 3 then began living in a building that was owned by a man named Getnet Bey. He was also married to a 15-year-old girl who was Abekelesh's sister and Heaven's aunt. Having this connection made the mother feel much more at ease, and on August 1st, 2023, when she went into work, she left Heaven and her younger sister in the care of her aunt and uncle. During this time, the girl's aunt had a doctor's appointment that she had to attend, so she left Heaven, her sister, and her 3 children that she shared with Getnet in his care. At one point, Heaven, who was doing her schoolwork, decided that she had to use the bathroom. But then, she never returned. Heaven's sister, who began to wonder where she had gone, soon began looking for her. And it wasn't long until she came across her body, lying right outside the home's front door. The little girl was rushed to the hospital, but her injuries were so severe that she was pronounced dead shortly after. Come to find out, Getnet had lured Heaven away to an isolated area where he had brutally SA'd her and poured sand down her throat to keep her from screaming. When he was done with her, her muscles were completely damaged. Her uterus was severely mangled, and her genitalia were so badly torn that you could see her spinal cord right through it. The little girl had also been strangled. Then once she was dead, Getnet had washed her body with bleach in an attempt to remove any evidence, before he'd thrown her body outside, where she was later found, and he tried to stage the scene like she'd fallen from the balcony above. He also inflicted cuts with a razor blade to her body to make the story seem more believable. When Heaven had been rushed to the hospital, Getnet acted awfully odd. He was shaking and wasn't shedding a single tear like everybody else around him was. That and the fact that he had been missing during the time that Heaven was gone made him authorities' #1 suspect. He was also said to already have a criminal history as well. Heaven's mother, who'd rushed home after hearing something had happened to her daughter, had this to say about Getnet's behavior that day.
ስገባ ሰውየው የቤቱ አከራይ ቁጭ ብሏል ሶፋ ላይ ቁጭ ብሏል በጣም ነው ማከብረው በጣም ነው እንደ ወንድም ነው ማየው እንደ ሚስቲቱ የኔ ቤተሰቤ ናት እሷም ለልጆቹ ዋስትና ብዬ ነው እዛ ቤት የገባው እና በጣም እንደ ወንድም ነው የምንተያየውና ጌች ነው ስሙ ጌች ምንድነው የተፈጠረው ድንጋጥ ያለ ደንግጫለሁ ምንድነው የተፈጠረው ነው ምለው በቃ ምንድነው የተፈጠረው ነው ምለውና ዝም ብሎ እንዲ ቁልጭ ያለኛል ለካ ድርጊቱን ከፈጸመ በኋላ ከቤት ቁጭ ብሏል ተከትሎ መሄድ አልቻለም ገባው ምንም አያናግረኝም
Getnet would be placed under arrest shortly after the 7-year-old's murder, and he was charged with aggravated homicide as well as murder by RAPE. However, the prison where he was being held was filled with militias, and after their fellow comrades followed through on a plan to release them, Getnet also managed to escape during the chaos. He then began threatening the lives of a backlash and her younger child, which forced them to move around to escape him and go into hiding. And it would end up taking over a month for police to track down Getnet and place him back into custody. But even after this, Backlash and her daughter were being threatened by his relatives, and she said she feared for their lives. Now, while both the charges against Getnet were punishable by either the death penalty or life in prison, after hearing both sides of the argument, a court determined that the evidence supported his charge of murder by RAPE, but not his aggravated homicide charge. So at the end of his trial, he was sentenced to only 25 years in prison, without the possibility of parole. This very lenient sentence left many people outraged, and it quickly began to draw attention to systemic issues within Ethiopia's judicial systems, as well as the global fight for justice for women and children. The justice system in the country has also on previous occasions failed to render justice, leaving many victims without closure and accountability. Perpetrators had either received too lenient of sentences like Getnet, or if they had received the death penalty, they just sat on death row for years, since no executions have actually taken place in Ethiopia since 2007. During the brutal 2-year conflict in Tigray, thousands of women and girls suffered horrific sexual violence, yet few of these crimes have been prosecuted. Over 4,700 cases of gender-based violence were reported in Ethiopia in just 2023 alone. But in response to the outrage of Getnet's sentence, the court defended their decision, stating that his punishment was sufficient. And they released a statement saying that they'd concluded Heaven died as a result of the defendant's violence and strangulation while he violated her, because she was too young to withstand the pressure. Though I have no idea how exactly that's supposed to be some sort of justification. And even after Getnet was jailed, Abekelesh and her daughter were still facing threats from his family. His 15-year-old wife, who was Abekelesh's sister, even spoke publicly defending him. She said that she believed his version of events, that Heaven had just fallen off the balcony. Petitions have been started online, including one on change.org, which has amassed over 340,000 signatures, and calls for a review of Getnet's sentence, so that it better reflects the severity of his crime, and to ensure that the maximum penalty under Ethiopian law is applied. It also urges enhanced legal protection for Heaven's mother, to protect her from the threats she's been facing while seeking justice for her daughter. And I've included the link to the petition in the description box below. Many are also upset as they are under the impression that Getnet killed Heaven because he believed that her mixed ethnicity and background made her lesser than him or disposable. The Ethiopian Women's Lawyers Association have also criticized Getnet's sentence, arguing that murder in such cases should be punishable by life in prison or by death. Members of the association additionally put together a candlelight vigil at Grove Garden Walk in Ethiopia to honor the 7-year-old little girl. During this time, hundreds of people tried to attend, but law enforcement would not let them in, saying they didn't belong there. Luckily, the group was able to hold their vigil elsewhere. Further enraging the public was the fact that Getnet sought to appeal his sentence at the end of 2024. Trying to make sure that this wasn't granted, Heaven's mother, Abekelesh, spoke publicly. She turned to YouTube and shared the agonizing story of her daughter's death, which quickly went viral. This sparked even more widespread outrage. And the hashtag Justice for Heaven quickly amassed millions of views on TikTok. Rapper Cardi B even asked her followers on X to sign a petition on change.org, demanding justice for the 7-year-old girl. This gained the situation even further attention. But not all of the responses to this unspeakable tragedy were unanimous, as some people began to question her mother's authenticity. And they started to question if her account of what had happened was actually just a big conspiracy theory. One to distract the Amhara people from their ongoing struggle against the Ethiopian government. One of the biggest voices that was casting doubt on the mother's story was a TikToker named Moda Carano. The day after backlash spoke publicly, Moda posted videos filled with Amhara nationalist views and attacking both her and her daughter Heaven. Horrifyingly, he even claimed that Heaven deserved what happened to her, and her mother deserved a similar fate. Why? All because the little girl's father was of Tigrayan ethnicity. Due to these remarks, many began reporting Moda, asking that his content be taken down immediately. And while TikTok removed some of these extreme posts, Moda also posted a follow-up video in which he offered an apology for what he had said about Heaven and her mother. And soon his focus changed to instead advocating violence against Getnet and anyone who knew him, including his family and lawyer. As of right now, there have been no further updates in regards to Getnet's appeal. Well, thank you for listening to Heaven's story today. It's unbelievable that someone can commit such atrocious crimes against a child and receive such a light sentence. How can those people in the judicial system even live with themselves? Letting him get off so easily, knowing all the gruesome details of what he did to 7-year-old Heaven. And as I said, I've included the link for heavenschange.org petition in the description box below, so make sure you click on that and sign it today. So, if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten, and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.